Hello, what is up, everybody? My name is Mario Pichardo. Welcome to another episode of Methods. Today, we're going to be recording two episodes, so you guys will see the other one come up after this one. This is the first of two, and the other one will go up tomorrow. That'll be Friday, August 30th. So, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for joining the show. For the uninitiated, my name is Mario Pichardo. I run Methods, a podcast that we run. I'm going to say for now, Monday through Friday, and we post up for you guys up on, well, I guess if I record tomorrow, I'll have an episode up on Saturday. However, usually right now I'm shooting for just Monday through Friday. The episodes go up at 11 a.m. the following day. So there won't ever be an episode. Well, there might sometimes, but there won't usually be an episode recorded on Sunday. So, oh, well, there would have to be. You know what? The episode I record tomorrow will go up on Monday. Um, yeah. So anyway, you can expect the video to be uploaded Monday through Friday. I'll figure out how that works logistically. Out now. So this is a podcast that isn't really at this point set to what the topic is going to be. However, we're still in an experimental phase, but I would rather record something and put something up than to not have anything out for you guys. So if anything, this is bonus content until Methods really gets settled down. Maybe it won't be. I was thinking a Joe Rogan-y type thing where we just get people on and we kind of have a conversation about whatever sounds interesting. I know a lot of other podcasts do that as well, so we'll see where it goes. So without further ado, we'll start the episode. However, just right before, if you guys like the episode, if you guys like the show, please feel free to share it and to spread the word about it, especially on social media. Sharing is the best thing you can do. It boosts engagement the most, helps us the most with the algorithms, especially on YouTube. So that's the best possible thing you can do. But otherwise, give us your feedback. Any kind of engagement, likes, or anything like that also helps with the algorithms to spread exposure to Methods. So yeah, thank you guys. And without further ado, let's begin the show. So today is August 29th. And I'm recording this a little later than usual, but that won't matter too much for you guys. Now, I'm trying to get Methods a little bit more away from politics. However, because I haven't been looking too much into some other stuff, I mean, I've been trying to, that's not true. I've been trying to. We're going to touch lightly on politics today, just to kind of get something going for us here. So I have Drudge open in front of me here right now. So there's a hurricane that's going to hit Florida. It looks like the supermarkets down there are already really clocked out in terms of food. So I just kind of want to take a second to wish the people of Florida a well-to-do. Let's hope that and pray that they are safe and that nothing really comes to them in terms of danger or anything like that. I can imagine it's pretty horrifying to have to live in a place where, you know, to be in the area where these hurricanes happen and where they're hitting your towns and, you know, places where you work. And if anybody has boats or anything like that, I hope you guys are able to secure all of your stuff and, you know, be safe at this time, because it's not clearly not, you know, the most fun place to be. Now, I do want to cover something that happened recently. So Dave Chappelle held a comedy show. Some of you guys probably know about it by now. Others might not follow the news. So Dave Chappelle gave a well, first off, Dave Chappelle, of all people, had a comedy show where he was kind of making a lot of fun of political correctness in America. And he did something really brave, really brave. He was willing to go out there and really say that, hey, you know, America does have, and kind of push back against the Democrats and say, America does really have a problem with political correctness. And he says one bit that's actually pretty funny, where he says, you know, if a woman is able to, you know, terminate a child, then a man should be able to abandon his baby, you know, because it's his wallet and he should be able to choose. Which is obviously, you know, said facetiously. I mean, no one's like advocating abandoning children. But it's, it speaks to the kind of political correctness in America and the lopsided ability to choose for people, right? If a man has to pay, but the woman is able to terminate whenever, well, that's an obvious issue there. Um, in other news, I just kind of want to talk briefly um, that, there are um, as things are really coming to fruition with the what happened with Spygate, this whole kind of this these stories and these reports and the investigation that's going on right now against certain people who worked in the Department of Justice and stuff like that. I would pay attention closely to that, just because I think what we're going to start to see is people are going to start to be named. There's this woman who called out Bob Iger from Disney, the CEO of Disney, and some others, as being involved in this kind of sexual assault, harassment, or in violation of federal statutes. So, in an interesting way, this Me Too thing is kind of um, that is starting to spread, and it's actually starting to hit people who are pretty powerful. Bob Iger, if anybody doesn't know, who's the CEO of Disney, rakes in tens and tens of millions. I think he rakes in an obscene $30 or $60 million a year. So we're talking about some big boys, all right, some pretty big boys, um, and they're starting to be named, and that's so we'll be tracking that story. I think it's very important that we keep in mind what's going on at that level. I mean, we're talking about people who have huge influence. And yeah, I mean, you might say, well, it doesn't affect me directly. Yeah, that's true. But I think, we're starting to move into an era where we're starting to see, hey, some things that people were mentioning before, there were quote unquote conspiracies, are actually starting to come out to maybe be way more valid than people thought that they were. So just from that kind of limelight to say, hey, the world isn't so rosy as we thought it is, I think that's really fascinating to watch. And I'd encourage other people to keep in touch with that and kind of watch things as they're progressing. Because it also gives you a lens into what is happening at a higher level in politics. Otherwise, there was a hearing for the old FBI director, and it looks like the statement made was that he did in fact leak documents to the press from the president. He did it in a way though that is legal, but it's still a snaky kind of way. And it looks like he's not going to be prosecuted for that. I think that's important just to bring up because it does say, is there a double standard where if you're in the know or you're in the group, there does seem to be a double tier justice system in the United States, at least. So, there are things going on that I think are worth watching, worth paying attention to. But yeah, I just wanted to bring those things up really quick. I thought those were some interesting tidbits and news items that were going out there. I have been seeing a lot of stories about people getting, and I hope you guys don't see it because it's pretty graphic, but there are a lot of stories going out there about people who are being attacked on the streets. A lot of knife-based violence is happening, and if you, it's be careful, and this is one of those reasons why people should be armed on some level. You need to be able to protect yourself or your family. I mean, there's a woman who was just brutally, let's just say she was in a fatal altercation with another individual who randomly chose that person out of an entire group just to, I don't know, what it is, but I've been seeing a lot of these kind of attacks using like knives, just regular knives. So, be mindful. I think that we have a tendency to think that the world is this kind of like, oh, everything's fine. There's nothing bad will ever happen. Well, bad things can happen. And it'd be really, yeah, not the best possible thing to have something like that happen to you or happen to someone that you know. So anyway, so I just want to get those things covered up there. In other news, we'll take a bit of a detour. Um, in other news, I just wanted to cover really quick that I just started working out. I feel good. I've been doing it for about 2 days. I feel good. I mean, it feels um, when you don't work out for a while, what happens is, or what seems to happen is that like you get you feel slower, you get a little bigger. You can feel, I had this weird thing where I can feel my heart beating at a different rate, and that kind of like freaked me out. And I was saying, okay, I really got to start working out, because otherwise, like this condition, like this weird, I don't know if it's called heart arrhythmias, but this weird heart condition that I'm having is only going to get worse. And I want to take care of myself. So let me um, take care of myself in the way that I don't, that I'm not sedentary. So I decided to sit down, to run on the treadmill for a little bit, get a little exercise there. Um, and that is proving to be good. I don't have the same kind of heart pain, and you feel better. See, that's the thing with like working out. You feel good. You don't feel like so much of a, down, down, somber, kind of sluggishness. And I think it also has a lot to do with your diet, right? I mean, it has a lot to do with the foods that you eat and stuff like that. So I'm doing better in that way, which is really ideal, I guess. The one thing that's hard though, you ever notice how hard it is to like change a habit and to like get yourself to do something you don't usually do? Like I find it every day I spend like $8 or $9 on food, and I'm like really trying to get myself to cut down and do like just half of that, because it becomes such a, not that it's like, well, it becomes more of a money expenditure than you want, which is fine. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you think about it as waste. It's like, well, I could be eating better, because if you spend the money, you at least want to spend it on stuff that's good for you. And so I was thinking about that too, and I said, well, I really can do a better job. I really can do a better job trying to take care of myself, trying to take care of those people around me and stuff like that. And one of the things that I think really can hit home for a lot of people is the fact that, well, if you don't take care of yourself, then the people that love you, you might not be there for them. You might not be able to be there for them because you're in the hospital, or you're 6 feet under because you weren't taking care of yourself. And that kind of really, that kind of pulls on my heartstrings. And now that I say that, there's also the opposite though, which is that most people, especially in America, are lonely. Like they don't have someone to kind of talk to about what's going on with them. I think it was like a third of Americans live by themselves. They don't have someone in their house that they can just speak to about, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, this is what's happening to me. And that kind of creates the opposite problem where there's so much isolation. And I spoke about this before, especially among men. A lot of guys don't have someone necessarily there that they can just kind of speak to, and they can say, hey, hey, what's up, Uncle Joey, Uncle Bob, Uncle Bob Iger, who, likes to do things that he really shouldn't do with women. But, there's a real, and I think about that too, man. And I think about that too. I'm trying to be less, or I don't want to say it because then it's like self-fulfilling prophecy. I am funny, you know? I'm not so serious. That's what I tell myself, so that I can like change that. Because a part of it's your mentality too. You can't be constantly thinking about it. See, because you can also be mentally in a state where you're trying to be something, and then that's kind of what you're communicating to yourself, that you believe that you're trying to do something but you're not really there. And so you kind of, in a weird way, it's kind of like what Yoda said, where Yoda was like, be or be not, there is no try. Because when you try, you really are in the not phase, because you haven't done it. And being in that I don't know if this makes sense, but being in between those states where you're kind of trying to do something, but you're not really doing anything, is that like in between area that most people kind of don't really want to be in. Um, but yeah, I am trying to. I see. There's like the stigma around people who play games, right? That they're, um, that if you play games, oh, you're, you kind of like get the stigma of like being a loser or being. But it's not. It's not really if you play games. It's like if you play games so much. And to be honest, I think there's something to be said for that. And there's a reason that stigma exists, because people don't want you to be potatoes. They want you to go out there and contribute to society in some constructive way. If you really honestly, if you stay home all day and that's all you do, I mean, it's not that it's necessarily a bad thing for you, even though it kind of is. I mean, you're really cutting your life off, I guess. But then again, I guess if you're gonna say that life is for each person to decide what the meaning of their life is, whatever. I'm gonna say the meaning of life is to connect with people, because there's parts of there's a real part of people that doesn't get activated unless you there's a part of us that where you really don't feel whole unless you're um communicating with other people, building relationships with other people, doing that whole bit. If you're not interacting with others, then you really are losing out, I think. And that sucks. It sucks. And more people, getting more people out of that phase. And it's hard too, because when you really do find like playing games does relieve your stress to a degree, right? But I like to think that if you don't really do anything, like, you really start to get depressed. And I think that that's a real thing. And so I see there's a rise in depression, which coincidentally I think makes people feel more isolated. So it's kind of like, if you isolate yourself, your body's going to act in ways to further isolate you, which is pretty unfortunate. But also the opposite's true, where if you try to integrate yourself, or if you find yourself in a social situation, I think you have a tendency to stay there and to develop stronger, generally speaking, stronger relationships with other people. And that's good too. But you never want to be kind of um so this kind of a thing where it's like, it's also hard to reach people who are kind of alone or by themselves. And then also they have to want to get out of that. You can't just really look at someone and say, all right, like if someone in your family who kind of does their own thing all the time, which was me. I'm trying to branch out more. um if you would have told me that before, I would have said, nah, not really, man. I know why I'm doing this myself, and so you can't really help everybody. Like, as much as I want to say, you can go out there and help everybody, no, some people don't want to be helped. Some people are content with where they are. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're lonely, because there's a difference between being lonely and being alone. And some people, and I was alone, I wasn't lonely. I mean, there'd be times that I'm lonely. I mean, everybody gets lonely at some point, right? I mean, it's not like you don't hit this point where you have like five friends and five good friends, and like everything is suddenly like because being lonely is just that experience of like, all right, well, no one can really relate to, or I don't see anybody seeing who I am like right now. So I feel lonely. Like, maybe I accomplished something that no one really understands what it's like to have accomplished, or no one really gets why this matters to me. Well, then you might feel lonely about that one thing, and to be honest, feeling lonely is okay. I actually think it's a good thing, because if you don't experience the bad to a degree, then you don't really learn to appreciate what the good is. Like, you don't know, like, we don't have a word. Think about it like this. We don't have a word for not lonely. We just call it not lonely, because we consider whatever the state to be where you're not lonely, that is normal. And it's so normal, there's not a word for it. There doesn't need to be. It's not lonely. So we really only have words for things that describe something really that isn't normal. And I mean, we have healthy, but healthy, I think we needed that, because we needed to be able to distinguish between sick and, I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, we're kind of like, we have this kind of like negation thing going on. Like, we don't have a word for not having headache. It's just because that's normal. Like, you're just normal. You're just good. You're fine. You know. So I think it's actually pretty interesting. That because even in looking in a language, you start to see um, the way that people kind of communicate and speak and talk to each other. And you can learn a lot from that. Hey, they don't have a word for this. This is because it's normal, man. It's because it's normal. I know I'm kind of like rambling, but that's fine. You know what movie I really want to see? The Joker. The Joker's in this. The Joker's new movie. But somebody posted something in the comments section that really kind of like annoyed me. They said, I don't really want to see a movie where a guy descends into madness slowly and becomes a serial murderer. Like that just doesn't sound like appealing to me. And then I was like, damn it. I was like, that's kind of true. I was like, that does sound not appealing. I don't want to watch that either. Now, but you can't let people color your thinking too much. You can't be open minded about everything. But that kind of made me not want to see it. I mean, I'm probably still gonna go watch it, but um, I mean, it's different too. It's not gonna be like every other movie that ever came out. But the Joker from The Dark Knight was so awesome. I thought that I'm excited to see somebody do something different because they're not basing it off of the source material. This is going to be something that is totally its own thing. It's going to be totally kind of new ish. So, I'm looking forward to that. Oh, and also I finished what was the name of that? I finished oh man, I forgot. It was Endgame. I caught up with all those Avengers movies if you guys watched those. And I got all the way up to what was the latest one? Yeah, no, I just got through Endgame. I still have to watch the most recent one, which is Spider-Man Far From Home. But now that you kind of hear that, I'm still gonna watch it. But now that you hear that Spider-Man might not be in the MCU, it's kind of like, well, then what are we what are we really gonna do? What are we really here for? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea where we go from here. But just having kind of like, I don't know, they can definitely continue on, even though Spider-Man might not be in the MCU anymore. But he's such. I was telling this to a buddy. I mean, he's such a huge player. I mean, where do you go if you don't have Spider-Man? I mean, I really think that Marvel's going to miss out the most. And not that they need him to survive, because they'll survive regardless. But I mean, like, the amount of, I think, money that they'll lose by not having Spider-Man is disproportionately more for them than they would have than Sony would have made, to be honest, I think. Because if Sony said no to Marvel, like they just did, that they can't use Spider-Man, Sony can still just make their own movies. Maybe they won't make as much as they would have made when they were with Marvel, but Marvel is really the big loser here because they're going to lose way more, I think, especially when it comes to like those Avengers movies, those group movies and stuff like that. It's a lot you kind of lose out on. So, if I was Sony, I'd say, screw you guys, and you deserve it, because Marvel's doing this sketchy thing where they want half, from what I understand, they want half of the movie sales, and they want all the merchandise sales. And that's like, well, no, that's pretty greedy. I mean, we're talking about a corporation that has that literally made the other 20, 22, 23, including, no, I think it's actually 24. I don't know. They made every single Marvel movie, which means they made so many billions of dollars off of all those Marvel movies, and now they also want all of the Spider. It's like, no, man, chill out. So, I think Sony's in the right. I mean, they own the Spider-Man, and oh man, is that a good IP to own? But they own Spider-Man. Yeah, they should stick to Spider-Man. What that? Why would they? Why should they ever give up Spider-Man? And for what? So I don't know. I stand by. I'm gonna stand by Sony on this one. And kind of say this is a little ridiculous, because this is like. And then I don't understand, like, well, I mean, I guess I just said I'll stand by Sony, but I don't really understand the people kind of getting into camps with corporations, because they're just corporations at the end of the day. They're just out there to make a quick buck, to make money. Like, they're not, if you're a corporation, I mean, you're not trying to, there's no real moral thing going on here. Even though we had corporations trying to push, like, political agendas, like the whole Gillette thing that happened, which was a big failure for Gillette, by the way. But, like, I mean, come on, they're corporations. They don't really have, they're not people. They're not. And so they're just trying to make money, dude. It doesn't matter what happens. Yeah, it would be great to have Spider-Man in the MCU, but I'm not gonna boycott. I'm not gonna boycott anybody because he's not. It's like it's just a character, man. It's just a movie. Who cares? But I will boycott. Watch me contradict myself. But I will boycott Star Wars because in Star Wars they totally messed up Luke's character, and to me that's unforgivable. All right. I mean, if Lucasfilm or whoever's making it, I think it's Lucasfilm, or at least they're whatever they're providing the directorial, I don't know, something oversight. But if Lucasfilm puts out another movie that's not related to Star Wars, I'll watch that. But if they try to continue on the Star Wars path, Star Wars is dead to me. They have killed my boy in Episode 8 in such a tragic and stupid way. They destroyed, in my opinion, in my opinion, they did such a terrible job. I do not accept Episode 8 as being a real thing after what they did to my boy. And you guys who have seen it know who I'm talking about. I would never go watch, and I really do want to see Episode 9 too, though, because you just kind of want to see what happens. But I can't. Not in good faith. They messed up Episode 8 so bad, and I blame whoever that CEO lady is from Lucasfilm. I mean, she didn't have it down. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know why they gave it to her. She clearly has absolutely no idea what she's doing. She had one of the biggest IP in literally the whole world. Literally. Star Wars, So, I don't know. I'm pretty upset about that. Anyway, I'll quit rambling now. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Methods, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you guys like this episode, please, share it. Throw out some engagement. It's the best thing you can do to help the channel. But with that, guys, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.